Now moving to part number 3. Find out what should be the dividend payout ratio at which the dividend policy will have no effect on the value of share. What would be the price earning ratio at which the dividend policy will have no effect on the value of share? That is P ratio at which dividend policy has no effect on share price. So this is question number 3. At what PE ratio the dividend policy and the share price are independent? In other words, when does the dividend payout ratio will not affect the value of a share? So we know that when you have rate of return, when the company's rate of return is equivalent to its cost of equity, that case the dividend policy would have no impact on share value. See this, I will prove here. R is equal to 10, say K is equal to 10. Take like this. I want to pay 20% dividend, I want to pay 50% dividend. You can take any percentage. Ultimately, you realize that the value of share at both the dividend payout ratios would be the same. Say dividend per share, here 2 rupees, here 5 rupees. D1 by, what is the formula? D1 by K, that is 2 divided by 10% plus 10 by 10, retention 8 divided by 10% K. 2 rupees divided by 10%, that is 20, plus 8 divided by 10%, 80. Share value, expected share value 100. Similarly, 50 rupees, 5 divided by 10% means 50 rupees plus 10 by 10, 5 divided by 10%, 50. So what is your observation? The share value remains at 100 irrespective of dividend payout ratio. You can pay 20% dividend, you can pay 30% dividend, you can pay 50% dividend, you can pay 100% dividend. Irrespective of dividend policy, the share value would maintain at 100 rupees. It is possible only when reinvestment rate is equal to cost of equity. So what I am saying here, if the company's return on assets is equal to cost of equity, dividend policy would have no impact on the value of a share. So we know that R is equal to K. That means required K is equal to 10%. We also know that 1 by K is equal to what? PA. So 1 by 10% equal to 10 times. So when the dividend, when the price earning ratio equals to 10%, that makes KE 10%. When KE equal to 10%, as the return on assets and KE both are equal, then the dividend policy would have no impact on the external share value. So this is about point number 3. Point number 4. Will your decision change with respect to optimal dividend policy if the price earning ratio 8 instead of 12.5? Instead of 10 times. So when PE ratio equals to 8 instead of 12.5, KE equals to 12.5%. That case R equal to 10%. R less than KE, that case the given form will be classified as declining form. The dividend payout ratio would be equal to 100% instead of 0%. In the first case, in the first bit, we recommended that the company should maintain its dividend policy at 0%. Now we are changing our view and saying that the company should maintain dividend payout ratio at 100%. This is mainly because of the return expected by the shareholders. At present, the shareholders are expecting 8% return. In the revised situation, the return on investment was revised to 12.5%. As the return on investment is less than cost of equity, that is the minimum rate of return expected by the shareholders, it is not appropriate to retain the profit and to make reinvestment. All the earnings should be distributed as dividend. Problem number 3. The following information are available for XYZ company. Number of shares outstanding 1 lakh, EPS 4, dividend per share 2.4. So out of 4 rupees, 2.4 rupees was paid as dividend. That means dividend payout ratio was 16%. Equity capitalization rate, also known as KE, or the minimum rate of return expected by the shareholders, 12%. Rate of return on investment, that is return on assets, or ROE, are 15%. You can see the company's return on assets is more than the minimum return expected by shareholders. As per Walter model, what would be the value of share? Question number 1. To keep the share price at 40, what should be the payout ratio? As per Walter model, what is the optimum payout ratio? And find out market price at that payout ratio. There are 4 questions. So first one, as per Walter model, what will be the market value? See, nobody can find the market price of the share. It is impossible. What we are finding is the fair value. That means the maximum acceptable price one can pay for a security. A security in short run may be traded above or below its fair value, but in the long run it should reach its fair value. Suppose the worth of the pen, in the normal case it was trading at say 5,000. It is the maximum price. If there is any exceptional demand, the price may go up. Exceptional supply, the price may come down. But at the end of the day, that extra supply, extra demand will be offset in the long run. Equilibrium supply, at equilibrium point, you can find equal number of buyers and equal number of sellers. That case, it comes to its natural value. That is what we call as fair value. Here, we are using the word market price, market price. Market price means fair value. That's all. Dividend per share 2.4, EPS 4. K is equal to 12%, R is equal to 15%. Then P naught is equal to D1 by K plus R by K into E minus T whole divided by K. Substitute this. 2.4 divided by, what is K? 12%. So 15 divided by 12 into 4 minus 2.4, 1.6 divided by 12%. Substitute this value. So 20 rupees plus 16.67 put together 36.67 is the fair value. We presume it is the market value. Question number 2. To keep share price at 40, what would be the market price per share? See, If you want to keep share price at 36.67, your dividend payout ratio was 60%. When you pay 60% of its earnings as dividend, the share price would be 36.67. Now you want to increase this price to 40. How to improve share price? Yes, there is an interlink between dividend policy and the value of share, but we must look at the current position of the firm, whether it is a growth firm or declining firm or normal firm. Here, R greater than K, there the company is getting 15% return on its asset, whereas shareholders are getting 12% return on their investment. Now, if you reduce the dividend payout ratio and increase the retention ratio, you would get better value from the market. Therefore, in case of growth firm, as the dividend payout ratio decreases, the value of share increases. After completion, you can find that the revised dividend payout ratio would be less than what the current dividend payout ratio followed by the entity. It definitely less than 60%. Now, we are calculating the share price using Walter model, but he is saying according to Walter, if you want to keep the share value at 40, what would be the dividend payout ratio? D1 divided by KE 12% plus R 15%. E 4 rupees minus the divided by 12%. Okay, I do one thing. So cross multiply this. D1 plus 15 by 12, 1.25 into 4. 5 minus 1.25 D is equal to 40 into 12%, 4.8. .25D minus 0.25D is equal to minus 0.2. D1 is equal to 0.25 divided by 0.25. 0.8. So to keep the share price at 40, the dividend amount would be 80 paisa. Dividend payout ratio is equal to dividend per share by EPS. Currently you are earning 4 rupees. Out of 4, you must pay 80 paisa. 0.2 or 20%. So if you keep the dividend payout ratio at 20%, so your share value would be maintained at 40 rupees in the market. This is part 2. Part 3. As per Walter's model, what is the optimal payout ratio? Since R greater than K, the given form is a growth form. Hence, optimal dividend payout ratio should be 0. Value of share at that payout ratio. This value becomes 0 because at optimal payout ratio, dividend payout ratio is equal to 0. So R by K 15 by 12 into 4 divided by 12%. So 5 divided by 12%, 41.67 is the maximum price a company can keep in the market. So this is about problem number 3. Now we are moving to new concept or new model, Gordon model. Myron Gordon. So just like James Walter model, Myron Gordon model is subject to few conditions or assumptions. First one, it is applicable to an all equity form. So no debt and preference share capital. There is only source is the equity. So shareholders will provide necessary funds to the company. Point 2. The return on assets and cost of equity both are constant. So this assumption was similar to Walter. The same assumptions are repeated here. First two, return on investment on assets and cost of equity both are known and constant. You will get the same rate of return and the shareholders will expect the same rate of return from the company. In other words, there is no change in the earning capacity of the company. There is no change in the expectations of the equity shareholders. No change in business risk. This is condition number 3. The business conditions which are prevailing as on today will be continued, and you can observe the same business conditions in future. That means if you had 30% market share right now, in future you would maintain the same market share. Your market share is not affected, your customer base is not affected, your earnings are not affected, your profits are not affected. That's why whatever profit that you are earning right now, that would be continued in future. That one. Third. Fourth one. Firm has perpetual life. So it is continuing as a going concern. We don't have any intention to liquidate the business. Neither the business neither liquidated nor taken over by any other firm. So it will continue forever and ever. No corporate taxes. Sixth one, and first 5 are similar to Walter. Sixth one is the new one. Firm maintains constant dividend payout ratio, not expected to change in future. That means if you have the practice of paying 50% of earnings as dividend, this 50% will be maintained forever. In the current year earnings, 50% will be distributed. In the next year earnings, 50% will be distributed. In the past, earnings was distributed at 50%. So this practice of paying 50% dividend will continue forever. And we don't have any intention to increase the level of dividends. Seventh one. Firm has constant growth rate. Firm has constant growth rate. So this growth rate is the product of retention ratio into reinvestment rate. So I will explain this formula with an example. Just wait. Just remember that the firm has a constant growth rate. So these 7 assumptions are made by Mr. Myron Gordon. Second thing, how to find the value of share. How to find the value of share? That equal to D1 divided by KE minus C, where D1 is equal to expected dividend cost of equity. G is equal to growth rate. Now, a small example. X Limited having equity of 100 lakhs. Equity means shareholders' funds. So if you have equity of 100 lakhs, definitely your assets would be 100 lakhs. So equity, you can also call it as assets. Now, return on equity or return on assets, say 20%. You are getting 20% return thereon. This is called as return on investment or EBIT. You don't have any debentures, so interest is equal to 0. That case EBIT becomes EBT. No taxes. EBT becomes EAT. 20 lakhs. We have only source, no preference share capital, hence no preference dividend. Now tell me, 20 lakhs are available to the shareholders. Let us assume there are 2 lakh shares in the company. Such a case, earning per share would be 10. Now assume, I told you in the assumptions itself, one of the assumptions is that the company will maintain constant dividend payout ratio. Now I have 10 rupees in hand, I will distribute fixed percentage as dividend. Suppose dividend payout ratio equal to 50%. That case, 5 rupees will be paid as dividend. There. This is the story of first year. In second year, out of 10, 5 rupees passed on to the shareholders. I have 5 rupees retention. 5 rupees into how many shares are there? 2. That means 10 lakhs. In the next year, equity balance base 100 lakhs plus 10 lakhs, retention 10 lakhs, put together 110 lakhs. I told you the firm maintains fixed dividend, fixed rate of return on assets. It is not expected to change. So in second year also, return on assets maintained at 20% on 110 lakhs into 20%, 22 lakhs being the earnings. So if you distribute this profit among 2 lakh shares, the company's EPS becomes 11. So since we are paying 50% dividend, dividend per share would be 5.5. Similarly, in the third year, this 110 plus 11, your capital base, you can see has been growing on account of retentions. At base it was there at 100 lakhs. In the next year it grown to 110 lakhs. In the third year it was again gone up to 121. So 121 into 20%. 24.2, as there is no increase in the share capital. 12.1. 6.05. This procedure will continue forever. You can see 5 rupees dividend in the first year increase it to 5.5. We are paying additional dividend of 50 paisa on 5 rupees. The growth rate was 10%. That is, growth means increase in the dividend. Now 6.05 dividend will be paid in third year. So we can find 55 paisa increase over the second year. So if you calculate this rate would be 10%. Like that, every year you can see the next year dividend will be paid 10% higher than the previous year dividend. That's why if you take this as D0, D1 would be D0 into 1 plus C. D0, how much is the D1? D0, 5. How much increase in the dividend is expected? 10%. So this is 5.5. In second year, D2 is equal to D0 into 1 plus C whole power n. Five into 1.10 whole power 2, it comes to 6.05. Five point five, 6.05. D0 is equal to 5. This is called growth. Now, this Myron-Gordon model, also known as perpetual growth model. Perpetual, why it is perpetual? Because this 10% growth rate will continue forever. That's why it is also known as perpetual growth model or constant growth model, also known as constant growth model. Some people are called as dividend discount model. Dividend discount model. Now, see this. Suppose this is the data of X Limited. You want to purchase X Limited share. You can see in first year it is going to pay 5 rupees. In the second year it is going to pay 5.5, 6.05. So we can see the dividends has been growing at 10%. From year 1 to infinity, infinite stream of dividends will be there. If you want to purchase the share, your money will be locked in the share or our investment blocked in the share. In return, we will get dividend from the company. So this dividend comes every year for infinite years, but has been growing at a constant rate. So present value of first year dividend, present value of first year dividend, present value of second year dividend, present value of third year dividend, present value of fourth year dividend is the value of share as on today. Because this is the benefit for which you are making investment. Value of any asset is equal to present value of future benefit. This is the fundamental logic here. So P naught, the price you are paying is equal to benefit that you are deriving. If P naught equal to present value of future dividends. Present value of future dividends. So I am elaborating this. How to find the present value? D1, that is first year dividend, into 1 plus K plus D2 into 1 plus K 1 plus K whole square. D3 divided by 1 plus K whole power 3, Dn divided by 1 plus K whole power n. So if you observe the stream of dividends, these dividends have been growing at a constant rate. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32. A constant rate, at a constant rate they are growing. So this series of dividend replicates a geometric mean. So we know that geometric progression, we can precisely say it's a geometric progression since they are multiplying at constant rate. The total of geometric progression is equal to what? Total of A divided by 1 minus R. So if you apply this formula to the stream of dividends, finally you could get a derivation of D1 divided by Ke minus C. D1 divided by Ke minus C. So this derivation was obtained from the logic applied to geometric progression. This is how the formula derivation was obtained. You can see D1 is not equal to D2 here. D2 is not equal to D3 here. D3 is not equal to D4 here. D1 is not equal to D2. D4. So to find the value of share, we use a formula called D1 divided by Ke minus C. You can ask me, sir, why did you write D1 instead of, you can also write D0 or D2, D3. Why did you write D1 instead of D0 or D2? See, we presume investment or purchase of share is made at the beginning of the year. If you purchase the share at the beginning of the year, it means the seller of the share will get the dividend of previous year and he sells share on ex-dividend basis. Now you are getting only right in the share, the dividend amount was already received by the previous owner. If I bought this share at the beginning of 2020, January 1st, 2020, the first dividend will be paid at the end of the year. So my expectations with respect to dividend starts at the end of the year. So the end of the year's dividend, we call it as D1. You always buys your share, or any investor buys shares on ex-dividend basis. So his first dividend comes at the end of the year. That's why we are taking D1 instead of taking D0 or D2, because first dividend will comes at the end of the year. That's all. D0 means previous year dividend that was not passed on to you. If I had a share, if I want to sell it, first I will receive the share. First I will receive the dividend announced by the company. After receiving the dividend, the share will be disposed of. That's why you are getting share on ex-dividend basis. There. That's why D1 is not equal to D2, D2 is not equal to D3, D4 and so on. Now, expanding this example, D1, D2, D3. I want to purchase the share as on today. So I will get a dividend from first year to infinity. This is equal to D1 divided by K minus C. What is the dividend for the first year? 5. Let us assume KE 15%. The growth rate was already completed. 10%. 15% minus 5%. 5 divided by 10%. 50 rupees. So if you want to buy this share, you must pay 50 rupees. The share of the company must be trading at 50 in the market. No sir, I want to buy this share at the end of first year. You would get a dividend from second year to infinity. This is equal to D2 divided by K minus C. So what is the D2 here? 5.5 divided by K minus C. This difference 5%. 5.5 divided by 5%. 5.5 divided by 5%. 5 divided by 5. Oh, okay. This was 10%. 5 divided by 5%. This is equal to 100. P naught equal to 100. P1 is equal to 110. No, I want to buy this share at the end of second year. So you would get dividend from third year to infinity. This is equal to D3 divided by K minus C. 6.05 divided by 5%. This is 121. You can see P naught, P1, P2. P naught, if you want to purchase the share as on today, you must pay 50 rupees. If you want to purchase the share after 1 year, you must pay 54. After 2, 100, 110, 121. So you can see the share value at the beginning of first year was 100. It was grown to 110. How much capital appreciation you made? 10. For an investment of 100. This is equal to 10%. This 120 becomes 121. So you would get 11 rupees price addition on 110 into 100, 10%. You can see this 10% in the value of share. We call it as capital appreciation. Capital appreciation. Therefore, G is not equal to growth. This is equal to capital appreciation. This is equal to capital appreciation. Next. Growth rate in the given case was 10%. So this 10% growth you can see in earnings, dividends, value of a share. So these three components are growing at 10%. Every year your earnings are increased by 10%. Dividends depends on earnings because there is a direct relationship between dividends and earnings. As the earnings increases, dividend also increases. Similarly, the value of share depends on dividends. As the dividends are growing at 10%, the share value will also increase by 10%. That's all. Now, so why the earnings of the company, why the company's earnings are growing at 10%? Where this growth comes to? See, if you want to experience growth in your earnings, dividends and value of share, you must pay a fixed dividend instead of distributing all your earnings. See, at present, 50% profits are paid as dividend, 50% of the profits are retained by the company. So these 50% profits are not kept as ideal. They are invested in the assets. So those assets gives you a return of 20%. So this is retention ratio, this is return on assets. When you multiply these two, 50% into 20%, the growth rate becomes 10%. So the growth rate is the product of what? Retention ratio and reinvestment rate. 50% into 20% is equal to 10%. So, how to improve this growth rate? Simple. Increase your dividend payout ratio or increase your reinvestment rate. Both cases you can see the increase in the growth rate. This one, this one. Hence, the growth rate is the product of retention ratio and reinvestment. That. Third one, optimal dividend payout ratio. Just like Walter, Gordon suggested growth rate for dividend payout ratio for growth firm must be at least 1%, because how to find share value D1 divided by K? If you had a dividend payout ratio of 0%, the numerator becomes 0. That case, we can't find the value of share. That's why at least 1%. In case of declining form, 100%. In case of normal form, 0 to 100%. Similar to that of suggestions made by Walter. Now,